Marin. I am your host, Javier Vicuna, and I'm joined here by my co-host.
Kimberly Escobar.
And on today's show, we have a very exciting guest. We have Luciano, who will be talking to us about the County of Marin's Career Youth Explorer program. First of all, thank you so much for being on the show, Luis. We appreciate your time. We appreciate you being here with us today. Could you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, thank you, Javier, and also thank you, Kimberly. So my name is Luciano. I am a program coordinator with the County of Marin's Probation Department. I run two youth internships on their behalf and for the community. The first is the Youth Working for Change program, and the other one is the one that you mentioned, the Career Explorer internship.
Great. So, speaking of the Career Youth Explorer program, what is it, and what's its purpose?
Well, to give you a little bit of background about the program, so I mentioned our first internship program, which is a year-round internship. That's the Youth Working for Change program, and that program was started through a collaboration between the Marin County Probation Department, the then Marin Employment Connection, and my mentor, the late Dan Daniels.
Who was that? Who was Dan Daniels?
Really an extraordinary man, right? A man that was involved in the community. He was the employment counselor here. He was also the head coastal area director for the NAACP here
Oh,
for
wow.
California and Hawaii.
Uh-huh.
And so I was paired with him through Racy Ming, who was our employment and training director, social services director at that time. And it was the first time that I was mentored. I was at that time 37 or so. So it really was kind of like a life-changing kind of experience for me. So he was the employment counselor at that time for the Youth Working for Change program, which is funded, like I mentioned, through the Marin County Probation Department. And what we do with that internship program is we work with justice-involved youth, we work with at-risk youth in the community, and our job, Dan's job, my job was to make friends really with young people, with the business community, with teachers, with mentors, with nonprofits, with really anyone who wants to kind of work and help young people grow and develop and really kind of redirect themselves, um, and just kind of lead a path of self-sufficiency, right, through employment. And so we do stipend our young people who are participating in that program. We have a budget, thankfully, and young people are paid at $14 an hour once we're able to kind of find a suitable placement for that internship program. So that program started back in 2012. Again, that's a Youth Working for Change program. And so what happened, for the next couple of years after that, 2013, 14, I think I met Dan around 2013 or so. And so Racy Ming, my division director at that time, was like, I want you to work with Dan so you could learn really the whole world of like youth services and how to work with young people. And so I got the opportunity to be mentored by him and also by Karen Cuneo, who at the time was our business services director. And really, it really was kind of like a life-changing kind of experience. He got me out to the community. That was the first thing that he did. It was exciting to go and visit schools and to be around young people, to assess their needs, to be able to identify resources and hook them up, right? And then see the difference when you're able to connect a young person with opportunities. And then the real like trippy stuff is like when you start seeing young people do great things in the community, like you run into somebody that you helped 4 or 5 years ago and now they're employed or they're in college or something like that. And so that was Youth Working for Change. That is Youth Working for Change.
Wow, that's a great sounding program. Thank you
Yeah,
for sharing about it because no, that really is a great first step for a lot of youth who might not have been in the best place. And this is a great way for them to elevate themselves and move forward in their lives. So
right.
so that's great.
Uh,
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention that I'm also in that program, and I think it's a really good program, and a lot of people should get into it as well. I also wanted to ask, what topics will you be introducing in the program?
So with the Career Explorer internship, now it's a little bit a different type of program because that's specific to careers in county government. And to give you a little bit of history on kind of how that program started, in 2012, Racy Ming approached both me and Dan Daniels at the time and was like, we would like for you to create a world-class internship program, a careers in government internship program for the County of Marin. Let me know if you need any help. That was kind of like the mission, right? And so me and Dan sat down and we started thinking about our own experiences of young men, particularly young men of color, right? And looking at kind of what would have made it easier for us kind of going through that process. And so the workshops, and this is to answer your question, the workshops that we kind of look at are really all of the trainings that I went through kind of at the County of Marin, or the informal mentorship that I received through Dan or through other people that I saw as leaders in the community. So we talk about things like cultural competency. We talk about bias. We talk about conflict resolution. We teach youth how to give and receive critical feedback. So when they go through that process where they're being evaluated, right? Because everybody goes through a performance evaluation when you have a job, is to see kind of like, hey, you know, you did this great, but you got to work on this, right? This part over here needs some help. And so how do you receive that part as a young person without getting your feelings hurt, right? And so those are some of the things that we kind of teach through Career Explorers. Career Explorers was actually born out of the County of Marin's 5-year business plan. So in 2015, the Board of Supervisors, along with other people in the county, were looking forward, right, to 2020 and beyond, and saying, what are the things that we need to work on? So it was a moment of self-reflection, looking at everything that was going on and saying, you know, diversity and inclusion, that matters, and we need to start doing something about it. And so Racy and her wisdom was like, this is what we could do for young people, right? And so we got to the table, and that's how really Career Explorers kind of came about. This will be our 7th year in the program. Over 200 young people have participated in the program. And so I think it really is, looking back, it's just kind of like, what would have made my life easier to get to this point? Because it was a real hustle. It took me about 7 years to get a seat at the table. I was already employed with the county, but what I mean by a seat at the table is just like knowing enough people in the community, right, to kind of to express your opinions tactfully, right, in a way where we can work on those issues together and truly make a difference.
Wow. Kim, did you want to add anything to that?
No, not really. I was gonna ask how many people do you normally get in the program, but you said like around 200. So
well, 200 is what we've been able to serve all together over the past 6 years. This will be our 7th year. But to answer your question specifically, every year in person, now we've had kind of 2 things happen here, right? We've had before COVID and after COVID. So the before COVID experience, the most we've had is about 30 participants. When we first started the program, actually the first iteration of the program was a collaboration between the Marin Employment Connection, Probation, and the Conservation Corps. It wasn't quite a county program. And then the following year, it moved kind of specifically to the county. And so we collaborated with them at first. But to answer your program, we started about 15 with 15 or 16 young people in the room. And then as we got more sites and more buy-in, right? Because here's one of the things that we teach in Career Explorers. Like, if you have an issue, a problem that you want to solve, it's a lot easier to solve that thing when you're able to build consensus, right? Young people, myself, I know when I first started at the county, I wanted to come in with the wrecking ball and just demolish everything and then start from scratch. But the reality is that we have people that we value here that bring knowledge, institutional knowledge, right? And so we got to work with our partners to kind of get things done. So it took time. So we started off with smaller groups like 18, then it grew to 20 something. And before the pandemic hit, we had about a max of 30 because that's what we could handle in person for room space, right? But when COVID hit, man, it just got crazy.
Right.
You know, it got crazy. And I remember specifically a conversation in the hallway that I had with my current director, Eric Olson, right? Because it was the first couple of weeks of COVID. We were kind of in and out of the office. And I went up to him and I was like, yo, I don't know if I could do this, man. For real. I just like, you know, what do I do here? And, you know, the way he answered the question, that's why I love working for this department, because the support that I've received here for youth services has just been like, it's great, right? He told me that if anyone could do it, that I could, right? So that was encouragement, but yo, that was also a directive, right? You know what I mean? It was like, yo, you should do this, but it was also kind of like, you better do this, right?
Right.
The community needs you. And I needed to hear that, because for the first time in my life, I was like many young people, right? And adults during COVID, we were like straight up lost. Like, you know, how are we going to do this, right? And so like Zoom, I started thinking, I went into the lab. I went into the lab straight up. I got down and I with a blank piece of paper, how can I do this in a way where young people will stay engaged? And so what we did during Career Explorers, we have guest speakers. We come in, we'll talk to you. I put everybody that I know, every person for every level of government that wants to roll with us is invited to the party. County, you know, from the county supervisors, the county administrator, all of our legal departments, parks, fire, probation, the library. We do a women in leadership series, okay? We do a community partner day. All those people are good for young people to know. Remember, it took me 7 years. Why? Because I didn't know anyone. I didn't have anyone up until Dan came up in my life and was like, yo, this is what you gotta do, all right? And then took me. And so I try to fast track for young people. So after when COVID hit, we had a daily guest speaker. And then the rest of the time that I had, then we'll talk about, hey, here's how you write a good resume. And whatever time was left over, then I just picked it up the next day. Here's how you interview, you know, we would do another guest speaker. And then after that, here's how you interview, right? And if we didn't finish, then we'll just do it the next day. And so that's how we did it. And then eventually we were able to get some virtual sites where they're working virtually. And then we had last year, thankfully, some in-person sites. So we were more in a hybrid role last year, but the most we've had virtually is 55 career explorers, right? Because that's the benefit of being online, is that you don't need that space. There's some drawbacks, like we do a public speaking workshop. I don't know how to do a public speaking workshop online. Okay, I do a real good one in person. So there's, or like an interview prep. I can tell you what a good interview is and how to do it, but we practice an interview in person, right? So you guys can kind of understand what that experience is like. So that kind of, I know that's a long-winded answer, and I'll talk and talk. So I'm just kind of giving you an idea of what it's like, but the answer to that is anywhere from 18 to 55 students that we have, right? And this year we do hope to have it in person, so that's the plan.
So for this year, you guys are planning on having it in person?
Yeah. So that's kind of like that's what I'm hoping for. I've already like booked most of the rooms that I need for that in-person experience. So the design of the program in person is like 2 weeks of orientation. The first day is like, yo, what's up? What's your name, right? What school you go to, right? You know, day 2 and 3, we talk about, really day 1, I talk about expectations. Like one of the things that I teach young people is, yo, on time is late, okay? And that's hard to do when, especially now when we're in this virtual world and people are going to work in their pajamas. You know what I mean? That the concept of being on time, like my dad was old school. He was a contractor, and he would, you know, if we didn't show up 15, 20 minutes before the person expected us, then he might not get that job, right? So that's the mentality, is teaching young people those type of skills and how to like show up, how to be your best self in the workplace.
Right. I wanted to mention, so how long will this program be, and what are the times and days usually?
Okay, so the program is an 8-week summer program. And for this year, it's
Oh,
going to
okay.
start on June 13th, excuse me, and then it'll end on August 5th. But the reality is that I don't want it to end on August 5th. I'm trying to work on some transitional employment opportunities for youth, both in the county, because I think it's extremely important. I need to start seeing some youth kind of hired and here with the county of Marin. We also do like a private sector day. So working for a business that's not like government related, like a Starbucks or a Pete's Coffee or whatever type of business is kind of close to you, close to your school. So we have like those type of job fairs as well.
Oh,
But typically it's an 8-week program.
gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. During the summer.
Right.
All
Yeah.
right. Perfect. Yeah, that's great timing. I think that can work for a lot of people's schedules. What are some of the potential careers that youth can explore in this program? Because it seems like you've been explaining to us, you have a whole lot of connections with this program, which is awesome. So yeah, what are some of the careers that youth can expect?
Well, I think that's the beauty of working for government, because the reality is that you could do anything, right? And it depends on the year, because based on capacity of the department, sometimes they cannot host for whatever reason. It might be they're going through like a large hiring kind of thing, or sometimes something like COVID or a fire can be disruptive to kind of like the availability of our county workforce. But to answer that question specifically, I mean, we have, of course, the probation department that funds our program. We've hosted interns. We've had the human resources department. A lot of people don't know what human resources do. Those are the folks that kind of help recruit and get people hired to the county. They're the ones who like review the applications that you submit. They're the ones who put together the interviews that you'll kind of go through. So human resources, we've had Marin County Parks, Marin County Fire, all of our legal departments. So we've had the public defender's office, we've had the district attorney, we've had county council, health and human services, we've had the assessor's office, the county administrator's office, the board of supervisors. These are, the levels of government that are involved, like in decision making. So remember, I mentioned access, right?
Yeah.
The greatest gift that I could give a young person is knowing the community, one, and two is access to those departments and those people, so your voice can be heard out there, right? And so that really is kind of the reason that the program is set up that way.
Great. So it seems like there's just a spectrum of careers that youth can explore here.
Anything you could think of. You want to be a probation officer, you want to be a mental health probation professional, you want to be a person that helps young people with internships or careers, a librarian, you name it, we got.
And another question that actually just came up to me is, do you guys help out with potential, like, I know that this is specifically for careers and jobs, but also, is there like scholarship opportunities for students, like if they wanted to pursue a certain career in college or university, something along those lines?
So this is a paid internship program. There is a County of Marin kind of classification that determines the hourly rate, right, for pay, and it's usually around anywhere between $14 and $15 an hour. So they will get paid. But a scholarship, we don't kind of fund scholarships that way. However, what I tell young people and kind of like the whole education, get a job game is like, what would you rather do, right? Would you rather go to high school, graduate, go to college? Maybe you're lucky enough to pick out the degree that's kind of in line with your work interests and graduate, and then go find a job. Or would you rather find the people and talk to them and find out whether or not that job that you think is interesting to you, would you rather do that first and then get those connections and then understand the interview process, understand how to apply, where the opportunities are at, get a letter of recommendation, right, for a job here or at another county or at a nonprofit or in the private sector? To me, that's the whole kind of point of this, is just to kind of teach you the value of people. It was the greatest gift that Dan gave to me, was introducing me to the community. And that's what I try to do for young people, is to teach them the value of people, to not like, you know what happens when you meet somebody, right? Like, I know I did this when I was young. I met somebody and then poof, they're gone. You know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, as a young person, one of the things we do is LinkedIn, right? And I know that's not really popular with young people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not where you're gonna go and look for like a funny cat video, you know what I mean? But there's value there, because when you meet somebody, because I got to a point where I can't like remember everybody's name. So I'm like, man, that person was interesting. Hey, you on LinkedIn? Let me put you in there. At least I got a name to a face and I'm able to kind of do it that way. But, you know, it's really, because relationships is a full-time job. That's another thing that I teach young people, right? So you're constantly kind of working at maintaining those relationships, how to like flip the switch and be able to like talk to whatever audience you're talking to, whether it's young people or people at the highest level of government or in the nonprofit sector, in the business community. It's like really valuing people and not getting frustrated by what they don't bring to the table. It's being able to assess and leverage what they do.
Gotcha. Kim, did you want to ask the next question?
I wanted to ask a personal question that came up. So you said that it was going to be in person, and I was wondering, because I know that for like the last 5 days, I'm not going to be here, and I want to do the program, but is there a way, is there a way that I can miss those days, is what I'm asking.
Here's another teaching point of Career Explorers, okay? Every problem is a communications problem in the workplace. By simply asking that question, I could give you an answer instead of you applying, going through and saying, and not calling me, and you're gone for that last week. And I'm like, yo, what happened to Kimberly? You know what I mean? So every problem is a communications problem. We understand that young people got a lot of things going on. You know, time with family, you know, that's important, right? If you have something that's kind of like school oriented, that's important. All of these things are important to you. So what we ask is that you just let us know. And we try to work with you as best we can. So you can, you know, we record a lot of our guest speaker series, for example, especially now that they're virtually, is like, if you miss a guest speaker, then you could go back and watch it and still get paid for it. So that last week will be a little bit different. I would think the only thing that I would say is like the end of program celebration to me is such a special day. It's like a rite of passage, is that would be a day that you would be missing potentially. But you know what? You'll be there kind of, you know, with us in spirit, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's not a problem. You have some things, I just need to know, right? I will say this. The Career Explorer program has grown over the years, and it's a competitive process. Like, that's another lesson that I teach young people. It's a competitive world. Get your act together and be ready to compete for these positions. We receive over 200 applications every year from this program, not just from Marin County students, young people, right? But from across the Bay now. And so, you know, you gotta like apply yourself when you are applying for the job, and give me a good vision statement. So there's a question that says, why do you want to do this program? And I want to hear one of three things, right? The first thing I want to hear is like, I want to be a lawyer, right? I want to be a probation officer, whatever you want to be. Give me that vision statement. The second thing that I would like to hear, right? If you don't know that, then tell me, I don't know what I want to do, but I'm going to use this here to kind of figure it out, right? I got an idea, but I'm not sure. So this will help me test that. And that's the value of an internship. the last thing is that even if you're not considering government as a career, is that the workshops that we teach you here is something you're going to be able to take to you wherever you go, right? How to interview, how to show up dressed appropriately, how to prepare yourself and answer good questions during the interview process. Public speaking, a lot of people, like young people these days, they grow up looking down. A friend of mine, Christine, from the Marin Builders Association, she told me that. I'm like, yo, you're right? Because the screen and everything like that. So public speaking, if you control the conversation as a young person, know this, you control the outcome. So how do you do that? So these lessons, this is not just me talking to you. This part of this is my experience, but this is Dan talking through me, right? These are other people from the County of Marin that share their experiences with me, talking through me. So we try to give you all of it, so you could be your best prepared self when you go out there and make this world a better place.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I agree with you because communication really is key. Communication is powerful, and we've been doing this show for quite a while now, and something that I've always heard from Kim, Annalie, Santi, our other co-hosts, is that when they do the show every week, right, we're talking in person with people eye to eye. It really improves our communication and our confidence when we're out, meeting new people, especially, right? Because I think a big thing about the youth right now is that, like you said, we always look down because we're just used to looking at our phones. We get really flustered during conversations because we don't know what to say, because we're just social media creates a lot of social anxiety for a lot of people. And if they don't have a way to exercise, their brains to communicate with different people, then, it's really hard for them to move forward in society with not knowing those skills. But through the Career Explorers Youth Program, it seems like they'll be able to not only just learn to communicate, but find kind of their path in life, which is what I think makes this program so beautiful. And the way you've been presenting it so far gets me really excited, and wish that I, back when I was in high school, I knew about this program. But it's great that you're offering this program to so many people, and so many youth, and especially seeing it just, over time, how it improves and how you keep, getting more and more careers here is great. So we're almost running out of time, but I wanted to ask one last question: what are some of the careers that former alumni of this program have gone on to pursue?
So that's a good question, and really something that I brought up to our leadership here. And when I mean leadership here at all levels of government, not the top levels like middle management, anyone who's involved in hiring, and anyone who cares about young people and who cares about diversity and inclusion, right? So I've had a lot of young people do some real nice stuff out there, man. I have a young man, Noah Block, for example, who was a previous alum. He's working in youth services now, program directing, right? I've had other folks that have worked with companies like Oracle, right?
Wow.
Yeah, I see people who are in the community everywhere I go, man. It just, like, doing this work is, if you ever get into working with young people, and I think one of these days, I think I need to do a career exploration day for like employment, like counseling, like youth counseling, right? It's trippy, man. It's trippy because, like, when you're in the game like 2, 3, 4 years, you start seeing these like cosmological things happen in the universe, man. Young people start doing some real wild stuff, crazy, like good things. My problem is that I don't feel that we've met the promise that was laid out in that 5-year business plan yet. I think now we have enough people on board, we have enough buy-in, and we are working at all levels in government, right, to kind of lay out a path for young people. Because I think that you got to catch them in transition. So what ends up happening is that essentially through this program, I'm preparing tomorrow's workforce for someone else, or I was. And I don't, that's okay if that happens, but I want to make us the priority. This is our investment in our own youth here. And so we're really focusing on having a transitional employment day this year with the County of Marin. Hopefully we can mine for enough of those positions. And then we could say, okay, young people, here's what we have. Here's your next step. Go and apply to this, that, and the other position, and let's see what happens.
Awesome. I see nothing but a bright future for this program. And thank you, Luis, again for being on the show today. Unfortunately, we have ran out of time, but we hope to have you on the show again soon in person. But thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for being
Yeah.
And we will also be posting the flyers for and sign up information for this program on our social medias. So if you need more information regarding that, check our social medias. They will be on there. But again, this is Tay Radio Marin. Thank you everyone for watching. And we'll see you guys next week. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.